A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.
After the flood, what a group of men and women want to see the next time the Mississippi rises. And a safety net for veterans, an effort to help more than 25,000 vets in the cities. The latest forecast from the National Weather Service hydrologists is that the Mississippi River will stay below the 15-foot flood stage in the Quad Cities for the foreseeable future. But it's not a question of if, it's a question of when the river leaves its banks and starts impacting parts of Davenport once again. This week, Mayor Frank Klipsch and his newly formed flood task force started the important work of preparing for that next Mississippi River flood. And joining us is Mayor Klipsch and a member of that task force, Danielle Bush, who is also the founder of the Downtown Davenport Business Coalition, which was created in response to the downtown flooding in the city. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks, Jim.
How did the first meeting go?
I think it went great. I think the broad representation of people at the meeting was very positive, literally from one end of the 9-mile riverfront to the other. Homeowners, business owners, the Corps of Engineers, FEMA, the emergency management agencies. But in addition to that, individuals that can make a difference, and all the different disparate groups are all involved and in one room together talking about it, and that's a good positive step. We initially started with a review of what our flood plan is and how we're making adjustments, because as you mentioned earlier, we're going to have more flooding before a long-term large solution can be created. So how do we make sure we can protect people? How can we make sure that what we did in the past becomes improved upon and is even more effective in the future? We're going to make sure that what we did is a minimum going forward, and we're already looking at ways, a 360 approach of how can we make this even better.
Well, the Downtown Business Coalition wanted to have a seat at the table, wanted to have a voice to be heard. You've got that right now. What do you hope to be accomplished by this task force?
Well, I think that what we're learning is that the situation is very complicated, and that it's not a one conversation cure for this. So really, we just got the conversation started last night, and it's going to take quite a process in order to reach the conclusions that we need to reach. But at the same time, we're happy to be there, and we're glad we're represented.
Well, where are we right now because the river's back in the banks, and people think, oh, the flood's done, we're back to business. That's
right.
Not the case for downtown businesses, though.
Many of the businesses have reopened.
Absolutely.
And the community's definitely supported, especially two of the newer businesses, Half Nelson and Lopez, both fantastic restaurants that just opened. They're seeing a lot of community support, which is great. But there's still a few kind of in the balance, and so we're just trying to get those final few to get back to where they need to be. And
is the task force at all involved in that? I mean, is it that the task force is going to try to also help these businesses, or is it more, as you see, kind of a planning and this is what we don't want to do and this is what we want to do in the future?
So since the letter, we've started working closely with the city administrator, and her response has been fantastic. We've had a lot of very productive public and private conversations, and she's been very attentive, and I think she and the city and the city council are very committed to helping us come back.
I know the task force was something that you wanted to do anyhow because you wanted to make sure that any mistakes or anything that went well is going to be repeated the next time this happens. Well, but do you have any regrets about what was going on in the last few weeks when it came to the businesses showing their frustrations?
Well, no, I think that's what we're a transparent community and a transparent city and government. We want to have that feedback, and I think it was great to get people showing not only their passion but their commitment to making our city and our downtown and our whole riverfront more effective for everybody. So no, I think it was a great idea. I mean, I think as soon as the word came out, I think Dan and I had a cup of coffee the next day, talking even more and finding out how we improve communication. But more importantly, the Corps of Engineers is really evaluating what happened, and we'll hear about that pretty soon. But more importantly, that we need to have that understand what happened in the past, but also more importantly, we've got a plan for the future. One of the statistics that came up, 18-foot floods were something to happen every 5 to 7 years. They're happening every year for the last 5. So there is a new normal. We have to prepare for that. We've got to prepare for that short term. and basically look at our partners in the downtown, the business community, but along the river, and say, we're standing tight with you. Let's work together that we can keep everything going, continue that reinvestment, continue the investment that you made, but at the same time, let's look towards how do we still create that world-class riverfront? How do we, in fact, be a good steward with the environmentally and along the Mississippi River corridor, but at the same time, how do we protect not only our businesses, but everybody along the river and work collaboratively to do that?
That dovetails into my next question, because you are part of the mayor's conference, so to speak, of other mayors along the Mississippi River. You had a meeting with other Mississippi River mayors a few weeks ago. And one of the things that was said, of course, is that if you build this wall, it can cause problems downriver, if there's a permanent flood wall protection for Davenport. And you also heard some communities downriver, further downriver, that were kind of thankful that Davenport didn't push, so to speak, its problems further downriver. I know that you're the mayor of Davenport, but are you also looking at that as the big picture, that you have to be the good neighbor to other cities that are downriver?
Well, I think at this time in our history of the country as well as along the Mississippi River, we can't be isolationists. We can't say, we're going to take care of ourselves and you guys deal with it on your own. But on the same note, I am the mayor of Davenport, and we have to make sure our city is protected. So we need to find creative ways that are environmentally sound, that can in fact use the topography and the land around us, potentially more water holding areas, and create some interesting, unique, and really destination point riverfront that may use berms and different things to be able to handle not only the water, but and again, the one you're referencing, the mayor of Grafton, Missouri, said if it wasn't Grafton, Illinois, I mean, if it wasn't for what you did, we probably would have been underwater entirely. So it's a balancing effect, and I think we're going to have to look at as part of the task force process. There's a lot of governmental organizations, the Corps of Engineers, FEMA, and whatever, are saying you just can't go and build flood walls anymore because of what that does to the whole ecosystem.
Well, so they're not going to pay for them anyhow.
That's exactly the case.
I mean, if it doesn't follow what they, let's be honest, let's go back in history, because we've talked about this before. I believe it was about 2013 that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers said they will help you build a flood wall, but only around the water plant, around Iowa American Water, because that was an essential plant, and that was indeed built, and that building was protected. The rest, you're pretty much on your own, right?
Exactly, and I think that's something that people have to understand. This is definitely multi-million dollars worth of investment. But one thing I think the task force we discussed and decided to do, let's not talk about money now. Let's talk about what the ideal outcome would look like, and then find ways to fund that, and then use that as you do in a construction project. You value engineer it to get the end result that you want, but maybe find more unique and effective ways to be able to do that. And I think that's important as well.
I would think that one of the things the Business Coalition would like to see, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but one of the biggest things that's really hurt you guys was the closure of River Drive. If there was some way to protect River Drive and keep that open in a situation like this, is that something that's on the talking point? Is that on the chopping block, or even being discussed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think last night the meeting, we talked quite a bit about River Drive, and the problem is that you can't take it as one big road. You kind of have to look at it in pieces. And there may be closures in certain parts, but are there parts that you can keep open in order to kind of drive that? But one thing the Business Coalition, we talked about at length today at our meeting, is the hopes to push for two ways on 3rd and 4th Street, so that if you do have to shut down River Drive in case of a flood, is there an opportunity to change those streets so that we can keep the flow of traffic and keep people coming downtown? Because
that was one of the big things, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, one of the big things was the misconception that if River Drive's closed, downtown's closed.
It is hard to get to, especially because there's other than Brady and Harrison, there's only really one way in, and so then you're cutting through residential neighborhoods and you're disrupting those neighborhoods. So I think, especially in being a good neighbor, we want to try to keep River Drive open as much as possible.
Mr. Mayor, I interrupt you.
No, I was just going to say, I think in addition to that, the additional development, I know there's a new YMCA, $22 million YMCA being built near the corner of River Drive and 4th Street. How do we in fact make sure, how do you get to that with a lot of the families, and there's going to be development on the other half of that property. That two-way street becomes even more important for that. But also, one thing we talked about, which we surfaced that issue, and I think I actually surfaced the issue yesterday, we've been thinking about 3rd and 4th Street, keeping them dry, which in fact keeps the Arsenal Bridge and the Centennial Bridge open. We talk about the water plant, that's in pretty good shape up to about 28 feet. But our sewage treatment plant at the other end, we need to make sure we deal with that. Basically at 24 feet, we have to shut it down. That means all the people in Davenport, Bettendorf, Panorama Park, and Riverdale will not be able to flush their toilets. And that's a much bigger issue. 160,000 people are impacted. So we know we're going to have to deal with that. That's one of the top things, and potentially somebody like FEMA may help us with that. I'm actually, as the chair of the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, going to be in D.C. and talking, and there's going to be rolling out some of the pre-disaster flood mitigation funding that have just been approved, and how do we start utilizing some of that money to preempt flooding issues in the future, or deal with flooding issues in the future by doing some of these initiatives. But we have to focus on, if we keep 2nd Street, 3rd Street, River, 3rd Street, first of all, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, the Arsenal Bridge, Centennial Bridge, the sewage treatment plant, the water treatment plant open, a lot of the issues that we face this time, we need to find better ways of doing that, will be taken care of. But the real challenge, and that's why I threw it out yesterday for some discussion, what about River Drive? Now that changes the flooding. We step, this is where we stop. We now move that on the other side of River Drive. That's a different initiative.
It's a major deal.
Yeah, it's a major deal. And so I think we need to consider that. And then how do we do that? And how do we work with Canadian Pacific, because the railroad, because they've raised the tracks, can we in fact use that as an opportunity to do some things related to maybe raising the bike path with that, and do some other unique things to deal with as well. So I think this is an opportunity. We've got to, again, manage our opportunities, and this is one of those where we have to take a look at all options. And we spent time, and I think this is important, we spent as much time discussing what happens in West Davenport, on the west side of it, because there are people who were there who had to take a boat into their house every day. There were people there who are affected dramatically, whose house are on stilts to be able to stay where they live, and some businesses that were 4 feet around them through the whole process and stayed open because they collaboratively worked. So we got to look at the whole length of the miles of riverfront, not only what it does there, but what it does beyond that downriver as well.
But before this river, I mean, we were all looking at the downtown as a place for entrepreneurs and new businesses that were opening up at an amazing clip.
Right.
But we were also looking at major developments for LeClaire Park and where the old Dock restaurant was. Let me ask you first, has this flood changed your opinion of what you expect from the downtown area, or how you have to prepare for being a business in downtown?
No, it just makes me love it that much more. I think this is just a new opportunity to keep pushing and keep that growth going. And I think everyone has kind of really gathered together to make that happen. I feel better about downtown than I ever have. And I think that's just because everyone is now finally communicating and talking, and we're all getting on the same page, and I think it's great.
And Mr. Mayor, I mean, does this make all the vision that we had for the LeClaire Park area, I mean, a major park renovation, making this a mecca for the riverfront, has that changed at all because of the raising of the railroad ties, or the fact that the flood was a record this year?
Well, no, I'm in the same sense of enthusiasm that Dan has. I think this is an opportunity. What we are looking at to do always was, how do we be sound with economic, environmental as well as economic, but how do we create a world-class riverfront? That was one of the assignments we talked about last night. How do we make sure that in addition to flooding and flood protection, we also deal with maintaining our vision for a world-class riverfront, and as well as making sure all of our young entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs all up and downtown in Davenport as well, can continue to understand we can trust what's going to happen, because we're going to work together to make it happen. And I think when you put all of that together, but it creates, as Dan said earlier, it's a complicated process, because it's not just keeping water out of one area. It's a matter of making sure that the great things that we want to have happen still happen, but still make sure we look at flood mitigation, we look at the environment, we look at protecting our businesses, working collaboratively, and how do we all come together and then find funding to do it. So I think we're all committed to making that happen. It's just a matter of now, step by step, the next meeting, which is on the 23rd, we're going to be hearing from the National Weather Service and NOAA, the National Atmospheric and Oceanic Administration. What can we protect? Because the next thing is, what do we want to protect at what level? We need to start understanding what the new level and what the new normal may look like. And each step along the way, we're going to make sure we get all the information that we can have and make sure our planning is done as effectively as possible.
So Dan, what do downtown businesses need right now? Is it mostly something from citizens and customers?
Yeah, I think we have seen an uptick since River Drive opened, and it's great. But yeah, I think we've been out of people's routines for so long. You know, after the rough winter, downtown has obviously a parking issue. It's when it's bitter cold, you don't want to walk a block to anywhere. So from the winter to going to shutting down River Drive to the breach, it's been a rough 6 months for a lot of businesses. And so I think basically, you know, the more customer support we can get, the better.
Mr. Mayor, one last thing. I have just so little time left.
Yeah.
The other
Just
big
very
thing that you
quickly-
have to do. Okay, please go
I'm
ahead.
just going to very quickly. People all wanted to help the people downtown. Go and use the restaurants. I mean, and go and use the businesses that are there. I'm going to dinner at Half Nelson tonight. Come on down, or Lopez. There's a Mayor Pizza at Lopez because I asked him in advance of one that I wanted. It's a vegan pizza and it's going like crazy, I understand. But I think all of those things coming together, now you can show support by going downtown. Stop at Armored Garden, stop at Ruby, stop at Lopez, stop at Half Nelson, stop at the Meadery, and show the people that we really believe in this, and we're glad you're here and glad you're back on operation again.
And that will underline that we have survived the flood of 2019.
Exactly.
Mr. Mayor Dan Bush, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Good luck with the ongoing task force meetings. Once again, they're all open to the public.
Yep.
Keep an eye for when the next one is being held. And we want to tell you also that still to come, veterans don't need to go it alone either. In a few days, the cities will host a program that can deal with a host of issues facing our military men and women. But first, Laura Adams has a look at the community events you don't want to miss the next time you go out and about.
This is Out and About for July 8th through 14th. It's time for some of our annual events here in the Quad Cities, including the John Deere Classic at TPC Deere Run July 8th through 14th. Family activities begin on the lawn of Deere Wyman House for Music on the Lawn July 10th, starting at 5. The Iowa 80 Truck Stop hosts the Walcott Truckers Jamboree 40th Anniversary Festival July 11th through 13th and features the Davison Brother Band, Sawyer Brown, and the Kentucky Headhunters. Or check out the 5th Annual Great River Road Vintage Trailer Rally July 11th through 14th at Illinois Campground in Hampton, Illinois. We have farmers markets to visit like the Geneseo Farmers Market at Geneseo City Park or the Freight House Farmers Market in Davenport. Or relive the first manned mission to the moon with a Science Center movie exclusive at the Putnam Museum on July 13th. The summer concert series at Faze Field features Moe & Company on the 11th in Bettendorf, plus the summer concert at Moline Township Activity Center on the 8th features the group Night People. The drama A Green River by local playwright Aaron Randolph III finishes their run at Augustana's Bruner Theater on the 14th, while the musical Holiday Inn continues to entertain at Circa 21 Dinner Playhouse through the 20th. And Quad City Music Guild presents the tap dancing musical 42nd Street at the Prospect Park Theater. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. It's being called the most comprehensive veteran resource event in the Quad Cities, and it's coming to St. Ambrose University Friday and Saturday, July 19th and 20th. The Quad Cities Veterans Experience Action Center will help vets with VA benefits, pension claims, social services, wellness exams, mental health counseling, housing. That's a long list, and there's even more. And joining us are two of the organizers of the Quad Cities Veterans Experience Action Center. Natalie Woodhurst is the coordinator of Veterans Recruitment and Services at St. Ambrose University. Sunan Jalen is the director at the Rock Island National Cemetery on Arsenal Island. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Natalie, let me start with you. Where did this come from? I mean, why is this needed? Because there are other organizations, there are other efforts to make sure that the veterans are taken care of?
There are. This started with the Community Veterans Engagement Board, the CVEB, and the basic premise behind that is not letting any veteran fall through the cracks.
Yeah, I mean, you need a safety net of some sort.
Yes, absolutely. And I know Sue is a big part of getting that group up and running. And she can probably speak to the initiation of this whole thing.
And I was going to say, Sue, is that why is it that is it a case where veterans don't necessarily seek the help that they need, or that they just don't know that it's available?
They don't know it's available. I know when I've done outreach for the cemetery, they don't realize that they have this benefit. There's not a lot of, and we do a lot of different outreach events. Sometimes there's 10 veterans, sometimes there's 100. So this is a new wave to look at things through the VA. And they had a similar event in Parma, Ohio over the last 2 years. So we took their information. They had a great standard operating procedure, and we've kind of set the bar very high. And we said we want it right here in the Quad Cities. I linked up with Shane Kern from the Vet Center, and also Daniel Joyner from Trinity Unity Health. And I did an outreach there to let them know about the cemeteries, and knew that we had the Veterans Experience Office within the VA, which really looks at what the veteran what needs are in the community. And there's a lot of rural areas in this area. But knowing that our regional office for Veterans Benefit Administration is in Des Moines and Illinois and Chicago, we wanted it right here in the Quad Cities. We're looking at 25,000 veterans just in Scott County and Rock Island County, and if we extend it 4 more counties, there's 60,000
Right,
veterans.
right.
And so we wanted to bring those face-to-face meetings here to the Quad Cities for our veterans. So the veteran group at Trinity joined to be a community engagement board. So it's important to have all branches of the VA be a part of this, but also 28 community partners that offer services to veterans. So there's everything for them.
Very true. And Natalie, who do you hope to see show up? I mean, not only do you want veterans there, I mean, families, caregivers, spouses.
Absolutely. And we'll have community resources and different things for those specific individuals as well. Veterans, of course, are going to be the main draw. I think the biggest draw for them is going to be the VBA, the Veterans Benefits Administration, having a place where you can start a claim. It's a results-driven event.
Yeah.
So to go from filing or updating your appeal or something like that to a result in one day, in one visit, is amazing, and it's kind of unheard of. So this will be it'll be a huge benefit to those that do come.
Is that one of the biggest questions that veterans seem to have? Is what benefits am I not making the most out of, so to speak?
Yes, I think that's sometimes they don't know, like Sue mentioned, they don't know that it's available at all, and sometimes they don't realize they may be entitled to more than what they are currently receiving. So that's exactly, we want to make sure that they get everything they're entitled to, and to be able to do that in one place at one time is it's really amazing.
I would think that the other thing is that if somebody has a question about an appeal or a question about their claims, I mean, sometimes that's the big thing. They get railroaded, they don't know what to do, they get frustrated, they get angry. And this is a place also where if you're having some type of problem like that, if you're a veteran, a spouse of a veteran, a family member, this would be a great opportunity to perhaps at least get further in the resolution of any problems.
Absolutely, and be able to have that face-to-face meeting with a claim, somebody from the Veterans Benefit Administration. And if the answer might be a no, are there other resources there at this event that we can help that veteran with? It's life-changing. It can be life-changing. I know out of the Parma, Ohio event last year, there was a female veteran that came, and she was 30% service-connected disability, and she...
Which means that she was only getting 30% of the benefits?
Of the benefits,
I see,
yeah.
all right.
So there's, a disability can be anywhere from 10 to 100%.
All right.
She was getting 30% check per month, and she developed MS. Well, during that visit, they were able to connect that to her service-connected, raised her up to 100%, and back paid her 10 years. So she was able to walk out with an e-check of close to $100,000.
That's a major difference. Like you said, life-changing.
Yes.
And that's kind of what you want to see over and over again, if I'm not correct, Natalie. And St. Ambrose is being the host of this. I mean, St. Ambrose and all the colleges also have programs to make sure that veterans get educated, that they can get another skill set. I mean, there's a lot of options that they may not know about that you're going to be really kind of highlighting during these 2 days.
Absolutely, there is. There's a lot out there, and as I mentioned in the beginning, the CVEB, their whole idea is to make sure no veteran falls through the cracks, and that's, we really wanted to bring services, on-site services to them that day. So the community resources, the VBA, the Veterans Health Administration folks, these are on-site services. So these are things that they can, that are tangible that day. They can get their teeth checked quickly, and they can get audiology done very quickly. Brief things that can be done like that. Also wellness checks. We can get dog tags made. So there's so many different things that small things to big things that they can do right there on site.
But let's be honest, the small things become big things in so many different cases.
Absolutely.
So let me talk about also, I mean, something that's near to your heart, of course, is the National Cemetery System for American heroes, of veterans of all the services. And you're at the Rock Island Arsenal right now. You're moving on, congratulations.
Thank you.
But this is also an opportunity for people to plan ahead as far as that is concerned as well.
Absolutely, and we have veterans. We've had a couple open houses at the cemetery, and we just open our doors, we open up the crypts and just show them what we do. And in our committal service, there's such rich history. I mean, the cemetery started in 1863. We have 27,000 grave sites there, and we have space for more. We're losing a lot of our Vietnam veterans right now.
Right.
And they come in and go, what do I need to do to get buried here? And they don't realize how easy it is for the benefit that they have. And it's just anything other than a dishonorable discharge, and depending on what their service was. So they can look at what their eligibility, they can do pre-need eligibility. It just gives them peace of mind. Wow, I really have that. Once I get to this gate of the cemetery, I have the plot is paid for, the headstone. It is a big benefit for them, and a lot of them don't know. I've even had veterans ask, well, I plan on being buried at sea. You know, they were in the Navy, that's where they feel comfortable with. And I said, well, did you know you could have a memorial headstone in a national cemetery? And we have 136 national cemeteries nationwide. So they don't have to choose Rock Island. They may choose one in another city that may be where they're from.
All right, Natalie, let's boil it down. What are the dates and the times? Is it free for everyone?
It is free for everyone. It is going to be Friday, July 19th, Saturday, July 20th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at St. Ambrose University in the Wellness and Recreation Center, which is located on West Lombard, if people are looking up a map of our campus. And that's going to be on the back end of our campus. So please, everyone come out, and we look forward to seeing everyone there.
Do you suggest that people bring things with them?
They should bring a DD-214 ideally. We can help them if they can't find other items. The VA can assist them with printing things out. But bring your DD-214, and that's the best way to get you started.
Because, Sue, I'd assume that if you want to deal with an issue that has to do with a claim or some kind of appeal, you do want to see some of the paperwork or some of the written letters that you have sent already.
Absolutely. So bring everything you have, and what will happen is it's usually first come, first serve. We'll have volunteers.
Come early is what you're saying?
Come early. We'll have volunteers there, but I know it'll be busy at different times during the day. But they will get a lanyard, they'll get a action pass, and it will be numbered, and we'll have volunteers that will walk them to where they want to go. So maybe they might go to the Veterans Benefit Administration, and they know there's going to be a half an hour wait. Well, let's get you to
some
maybe
other location
enrollment
first.
at the VA
Absolutely.
hospital and meet some of the community partners. So we have a lot of things for them to see while they're there.
But don't be shy. Take advantage of this. It is for free. It's for veterans and their families. It is really one-stop shopping, and you could really, as you said, change your life. Thank you so much. Natalie Woodhurst, the coordinator of Veterans Recruitment and Services at St. Ambrose University. Sue-Nan Jalen is the director of the Rock Island National Cemetery. For now, moving on, we wish you luck, and thank you so much, and good luck next weekend as well. Once again, the Quad Cities Veterans Experience Action Center will be held this coming weekend at St. Ambrose University in Davenport. The doors open at 9 Friday and Saturday morning. Stay open until 3 in the afternoon. Counselors will be on hand to talk about VA benefits, pensions, health issues, social services, home assistance, and a variety of other issues directly impacting veterans. It's being held at the Wellness and Rec Center at St. Ambrose University. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device, thanks for taking time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds, and are proud supporters of WQPT.